announcement has been paid for by the nWBro's podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Blade, Big Kev, and Karlifornia. It's the nWBro's podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the nWBro's podcast here for episode 4, Hostile Takeover for July of 1996, part 1. I'm one of your hosts here, Karlifornia. Great to be with you all once again. And once again, I must introduce my co-host here. First and foremost, he's been here since day dot. He is big, sexy Kevin Curran. How you going, bro?
It's going, man. I got a new podcast mic tonight, so hopefully this sounds crisp and good and as good as you guys.
Yeah, I like the shape of your microphone, mate. It's very phallic.
I like the cut of your jib.
Thanks, bro. I'm guessing that's a compliment on the jacket. And of course, our the new kid in town, I keep calling him. He is, second episode, he comes in like a house of fire with his intelligence and his big words, making me and Kev look like, two peons. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Blade. How you going, bro?
Yeah, good, man. I didn't get a new microphone. It's a $40 one from Kmart. So we're running thin on the funds. But it works pretty good. Like, this is a good mic, I think, for what I paid for it.
Yeah, well, as long as we can hear you, it's all that matters, mate.
When we listen to this back, and if you sound better than I do, I'm gonna be super pissed.
You just dropped several hundred on this really cool mic. Okay, boys. Well, let's get into it. Hey, July 1st, Monday Nitro. We're starting off here in July for episode 4 here. Hostile Takeover is what I've called this episode. And I've made you guys watch the opening of the show here. Tony and Larry once again talking to the camera as they do to open the show. Diamond Dallas Page rudely interrupts because he can't find his ring. The Lord of the Ring can't find his ring. Then Tony manages to get him to go away after his complaints because no one really cared about DDP's little ring. Footage is shown from last week, the Outsiders with the baseball bats. And of course, Tony throws out their rumor has it that they might be there tonight. And of course, Larry Zbyszko, very poignant thing that he says here. He is the first person to drop the words New World Order to end the segment. So let's fire it back at the bros here. And Blade, I want to get your astute thoughts here on the opening segment.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Like, I like that they didn't confirm whether Hall and Nash were going to be there, which is awesome because it kind of keeps up the illusion of like what we talked about in earlier episodes, which is when are these guys going to show up? We don't know. They're a rogue element, right? Which is awesome. And I think it foreshadowed really well that Eric was coming back in the second hour as well. So, they've obviously withheld that, with the events that happen later in the show. So you're sort of waiting to be like, oh, like Eric's finally back. Like, what's going to happen now? What's he going to have to say after this time off? I thought it was a really strong way to open a show.
Excellent. Kev, throw it up to you.
Yeah, a lot different in the earlier episodes where they kind of don't mention the threat. And this is the first thing on the show. Now it's become the main focus of the whole show, which is sort of in the beginning they were kind of like, we see it not even mentioned or anything till near the end. So now this is kind of, I'm noticing it's ramping up now, and that's all you're getting. It's just this angle is really taken over the show now, and we're getting lots of mentions of it.
Yeah, well, I guess because of the last Nitro when they came out with the baseball bats, and it was quite the dramatic scene. Now they're all very worried about their safety because the ante has been upped here by the Outsiders. Next segment, we get towards the end of hour number 1. Greg Valentine is taking on Randy Savage. I kind of get a little bit tickled when I'm looking at the roster here, and I'm just seeing so many like former WWF guys. From the late 80s, early 90s, before the new generation kind of swept them to the side. They're all under contract here. Tenta, Duggan, Greg Valentine. Just doesn't seem right. But anyway, hour number 2 has the fireworks going off right as Savage gets the win here. Eric and Bobby on commentary Kevin Nash gets his name mentioned for the first time. Before that, they were just saying Outsiders. Eric is real serious about this. Bobby is concerned. Bobby can't sit still. Before we get to the dramatic scene here, guys, just wanted to throw it back to you, see your thoughts on all this. Kev, what did you think?
Which bit was this up to? Sorry.
This is the start of hour number 2 where Eric and Bobby
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't had much to say. Just to sort of continue on what they were, the threat, and especially Bobby Heenan. He just won't stop. He's very with Bischoff, he was mentioning that not to worry. It's going to be on a control sort of thing, but he's still Bobby. He's not sitting still.
Blade, anything to add here?
Yeah, it was interesting. I really love that they had Bischoff like stare down the barrel of the camera and deliver this monologue. And something I've noticed very early on that WCW's utilized a couple of times, and even not talking about that in general, but they use the parameters of the commentary box and like what the commentators do really well, and like things that you don't see necessarily all the time in the current day either. And I'm like, that's very interesting. Like it just adds an extra dramatic element to it that I really like. And Bobby is the perfect chicken shit here. Like his cowardice is amazing. And it made me laugh, and I'm assuming we'll transition into this, but when Hall and Nash arrive and he's got his back turned and he's like trying to look at them, and he's got his glasses and he's like he's using them like binoculars. It's so funny.
Yeah, and that's sorry, Kev.
Yeah, we even got a weasel chant here. If you heard that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so look, Bobby's concerns are well founded because the crowd start making some noise. Bobby notices. Now he's starting to panic. And we get a shot, from a bit of a distance, like as if the production team weren't prepared for this. So it's a bit of a long shot, but we have the Outsiders walking down the stairs. They have a drink and popcorn in their hands. I was just cackling at that. Eric tells Bobby to sit down. Yes, Kev?
That sort of where the Hall and Nash start doing the they bought the tickets sort of gimmick. That's been used a lot after this. I'm wondering if that's one of the first times that kind of thing has been done in wrestling, because now you see that all the time. Now someone's been banned and then they come down with their ticket. So it's
John Cena did it. Yeah,
that's been regurgitated a lot.
Yeah, but you see the way that they did it this time was it's the first time, I think, and it's the coolest because it comes across legit. And speaking of legit, I want to give Doug Dellinger, the head of security of WCW, I want to give him some props because when he was handed the tickets, I thought he sold it very well, looking a little bit flabbergasted, not knowing what he can do about the situation, looking around. For someone who isn't an actor, well done. And also, towards the end of this segment, a fan grabs a handful of Scott Hall's popcorn, which I found quite funny. Hall didn't seem to care. And Bobby is extremely concerned about the situation. Blade, I'm going to throw it to you. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, so I thought immediately great reaction with the audience seeing Hall and Nash come out. There's just a ton of heat coming down on them, which is wicked. I love that they see that they had time to hit the refreshment stand on their way down like that. Could you imagine they're standing in the lobby waiting in line to get their popcorn and drink? Like, where would they have gotten that from otherwise? Thinking about the specifics of the chronology of it all. Nash is in a plain black shirt and jeans. I like this. He's not in a dad shirt.
So he looks about his
appearance. Yeah, I mean, look, it works. I found him more formidable at this point than I probably had at any other, even after he powerbombed Eric. I mean, you can't powerbomb a guy wearing a freaking striped polo shirt. It's just not happening. It doesn't work for me, okay? Eric really drives home the point of the 3v2, and this is a constant through line, I think, all the way up until Bash at the Beach, is that they really hammer home of all the points that they're making, the 3v2 element of it all, and not knowing who that third man is. And to finish it off, Bobby comes out with this great. He's like, all they're doing is they're wolfing down popcorn and they're drinking diet soda. And I love that he specified that it was diet.
Yeah, so
I
specific.
don't know why, but those little things make me laugh. That was a great way to end it for me.
Excellent, bro. And how about you, Kev?
I noticed in the segment as well, like even though the last time we seen Bischoff was getting power bombed, he's got his bravado still here. He's talks down the camera. He's got his bravado. He's not scared, and that was interesting. I thought as well. He's sort of not backing down, and he believes in his roster is going to be able to handle this situation. But Heenan doesn't seem to think so.
I just love Nash and Hall, the demeanor. Kev laughing in Doug's face saying, "We came to see the big boys."
Yeah, he's amazing. This
really, really good stuff. And Blade, I just want to throw this at you. If you keep on picking on Kevin Nash's clothing choices, I'm sure there's going to be some snowflake in the comments that's going to be like, "That's fashion shaming" or some shit like that. So I say keep doing it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, 100%. I'm doubling down. It's an awesome point that you make, though, about Nash. And I think watching all this footage, one thing that really stood out was like he actually shined through a lot more for me now. Hall leads in and Nash kind of comes in as that enforcer, but I feel like a lot more of his personality shone through all of this, which was awesome because I guess having not seen this footage before, I always assumed that Hall kind of did a lot more of the talking and antagonizing, but they actually play off each other really well.
Yeah, good point. I don't know that you say that. Now I'm really noticing like when Nash made the debut and he was very serious and stern on the mic. Now him and Hall are like almost
Cocky.
being juvenile about the whole thing and laughing in their face and doing, they even went to the length of getting popcorn and a drink, like to show that they're going to be fans for the night when that it's not going to happen that way. Anyway, let's move to the next segment here. And I was so happy to know that I was forcing you guys to watch John Tenta and the Giant have a match here. I was thinking when Giant was walking out, and you guys let me know if you agree with this. WWF at the time must have been like eyeing him off at this point already, being like, "Oh, if we could get our hands on him, we could make some money." What do you reckon? I think he's more suited to the WWF, to be honest with you, when I look back. But
yeah, and I mean, obviously, when you draw the parallels between Andre the Giant as well, it does make sense that I think. And how could you not? I mean, a guy who's 7 foot and like 450 pounds at this point, like that's gonna draw money wherever you go.
yeah.
And so yeah, I feel like he would have been on their radar probably prior to even signing with WCW.
Yeah, Vince would have been drooling over him.
especially his age as well. He's super young.
Yeah, was he like 23 or something? Something
24,
ridiculous. Yeah.
I don't know. It may be a maybe an unpopular opinion, but I feel like Paul White, the Giant, seemed to me more of a threat in WCW than he did in WWF. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
His booking, and it was really wish-washy in WWF. He was, heel 1 minute, face the next, and back and forth switch. And he just, I don't know. I just feel back in this era, he kind of, it just seems a bit more a threat and more stronger to me. Look, he's world champion,
Yeah, I guess like 96, he's really getting a pretty good push. But I guess I was thinking more like towards like mid 1998, where he's coming out smoking a cigarette and he's like stuck in tag teams, and by the end of it, they weren't really doing a whole lot with him. He was like being used to put people over and all that. But that you do make a good point, Kev. Anyway, let's get back into this segment here, eh? So I love during this match, Bobby made such a good point about WCW already showing their cards. They've already told them who the three guys are. They still don't know who their third man is. So that I thought that was really smart of him. They're talking about how security has called for reinforcements. It's two guys. Very slow, boring match as expected. But you know what? Back then, it didn't matter. No one cared. Like no one complained about things like that back then. They're two big guys. They're not going to be, having a barn burner. That's for sure. They cut to Nash and Hall in the crowd. Nash is checking his watch. They're really selling that the third guy might be showing up. Tenta finally gets a hope spot in here, hits the big drop kick, which was fantastic. All the shenanigans take place with the dungeon. John Tenta takes a pretty fucking heavy choke slam, boys. And then they shave one side of his beard. But anyway, I just wanted to mention all this because Hall and Nash are at ringside. I'm going to throw it to you, Kev. Any thoughts here?
It's just you don't realize how, we know John Tenta's a big man, but when you put him next to Paul White, that you really see how big he really is. He doesn't look small. He doesn't look small compared to Paul White. He looks,
Yeah.
Wow, two big men, man. It's huge. Absolutely huge dudes.
Blade.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a technical classic by any stretch. And I think you raise a really good point. I don't know if it's because we've been desensitized in this day and age to, we've been around the big show for a long time and we've seen other big wrestlers come through. And now I feel like wrestling has sort of reached a point where that's not the case anymore. Like how many truly like monstrous individuals you see. I mean, you had Omos and other people sort of come through, but it's like there's no Paul Whites or John Tentas or any of these really, really big dudes, who are like 6'5+, like 350 pounds. Like, it almost feels like we're maybe a little spoiled back then. And now that's sort of not in the zeitgeist currently.
There's a lot of men back then that look like, if you're, I don't know. If you walked in like to a poker game, at some bloke's house, and they're all smoking cigars and all that, like I could see a John Tenta looking kind of guy in a place like that, but like now all the wrestlers look like models with like fucking,
Another bit about this segment too, which I forgot to mention was because it's just a normal match. It ain't just a normal match because there's the outside threat of what Hall and Nash are doing plus the match. So it's not really a match that even if you're not really into it, you still want to watch what's going on here. This could be the bit where they come in, or you just don't know. So you've got that two elements of just a match, and you've got this outside storyline going on at the same time. And I think that's what makes it more interesting than just having a normal boring match where there's no stakes whatsoever.
Yeah, you can imagine a fan being at home being like, "Oh, imagine Nash and Giant having a fight right now. I'd like to see that." But yeah, so
it just to elaborate on that, and I think to sort of wrap a bow on it a little bit, is that between Eric and Heenan and then what's happening at ringside, it really, I think, creates an atmosphere of like paranoia and anxiety. Like what's going to happen? Everything is on edge. And to your point, Kev, you're like, what's going to happen next? Is this when they're going to make the move? Is the third guy going to show up? Like it creates that sort of must watch, because you're like, well, I don't want to look away because I don't want to miss if something happens like that.
Yeah.
Like you want to see it when it happens.
Everything so far seems so masterful in its execution. It's been very smartly put together. So we go to after the match is over, we go to an advert break. See a little bit of an advert for the WCW Power Plant. We come back. Eric Bischoff throws to a Rey Mysterio video package. Here we go. I love that it was in the middle of a video package. I'm just saying, chef's kiss on this one. Here comes the drama. The video package is cut off. Eric's saying, stop this tape right now. It just makes me laugh so much. It's so realistic. I love little things like the female producer jumping off the commentary platform with the papers in her hand. Just a tiny bit of detail makes the scene seem so much more impactful and frightening. And here we go. Now it's becoming a problem. Nash somehow got his hand on a microphone.
Yeah, I had that in my notes. I was like, well, where did he get this microphone from?
Yeah, maybe they want people to think, oh, maybe during the break he went over there and just snatched it. But geez, I don't know. That just made me laugh. How did he get the mic? So yeah, he's yelling out to Bischoff. Hey Bischoff, did you get any frequent flyer miles with that ride last time? Great stuff, man. And then when they get past the barricade, did you guys hear Nash when the cops start grabbing him and he says, "Get the fuck off of me"?
Yeah, dropped an F-bomb there. Yeah.
Easy. And then out come the guys. Oh, look at the clowns. Look at the clowns. An awkward atmosphere almost because of how the show's been so interrupted. And then Bobby says to Eric, let's get Tony and Larry out here to do the rest of the show. Like he wants them in harm's way. But anyway, I'm going to throw it to you, Blade. Let me know what you thought of this segment here.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. Hall calling Bischoff Donny Osmond popped me super hard. Loved it. I think just having the whole locker room pour out was really good as well. You know, like you said, it creates again that atmosphere of unease and uncertainty, and this threat is so large, which is funny because it's only two guys, but it's being treated like so much more. I also, at a part of it, there's a point where Nash is sort of like chanting something, and I couldn't decipher like what.
Annika.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, what is he talking about? I have no idea.
I mean,
I thought he was saying Attica.
That's what I also thought.
What's
I put
Attica
in my notes, Attica, and I was like, what is this?
I'm going to type it into Google here, but keep going.
Yeah, I was very curious about that. But overall, like, again, popping it together with all the other elements, it makes it very interesting.
Okay.
What is it?
I found what it is.
Yeah.
Like Nash with his little inside references. It's from an Al Pacino movie, Dog Day Afternoon. And it's a reference to the Attica prison riot. In pop culture, it's become something you yell in protest of oppression.
Wow.
Oh, Nash, he's fucking good, man.
Could you imagine him trying to run that past Vince McMahon? Like,
Oh.
I want to say this. What? Like, it would never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bloke never watched movies or anything. Fucking hell. But yes. Okay, now we know. I'm glad that you brought it up because I forgot to write it down. That's always like in the back of my mind. I've always wondered what he was saying, but I never researched it. I never thought to look it up.
That makes me like Nash so much more. I already loved him, but like that's the sort of shit he does where I'm like,
I'm going to watch that movie tonight now just because of that. So Kev, do you have anything else to add here?
Yeah, I think Nash completely stole this whole section. He was just hilarious. Cole is like yelling at the roster, "Look at the clowns! Look at the clowns!" And then the police officer says, "Oh, we'll buy you all a donut." And he said, "Oh, how much they make is more than they make in a lifetime," or something like that, along those lines. He was just they were just such like arrogant, like, you know, just juvenile dudes, and it was so funny. And just really cool how they went out once again out of the arena to do this sort of backstage, got in their car, and then sort of
dude, like if you boys all pulled your checks, you wouldn't be able to afford this car. Like, brilliant stuff. So anyway, I mean that's one of like the most memorable segments. That, you know, it reminds me of the prior week with the baseball bats and all that. That's always in every kind of like highlight package when you look back at the formation of the NWO. And I guess sorry, Blade.
No, it's okay. I didn't realize we kind of flowed into the next part, so I had a couple of other things I wanted to add in that I noticed.
Please do.
So I think it's very interesting. Eric puts a spin on a pretty common phrase. He's like, "Put up or shut up," and then he adds in "and go away." T-shirt idea: put up or shut up and go away.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I
cool.
like it.
Yeah. Excellent. I I think Eric cutting Bobby off and then ditching his headset, like I really love that because I'm like, oh man, he just seems genuinely frustrated. Like that's great. That's great. It's those things, like you said, about the producer jumping down. Like
Yeah.
it just makes it seem more realistic, and I love that. Yeah, as a classic burn by Big Kev offering to buy them donuts. That's, I mean, that's just funny shit at any day, any age. I also had to laugh at Hall half-heartedly pleading with the cops. He's like, "But I bought a ticket, man." Like, I just like, what difference is that going to make, bro?
You interrupted the whole fucking thing.
Yeah. I said Nash antagonizing the police is great, and I love when like the 5'5" cop gets up in his face.
Oh, yeah,
like,
that fucking
he's just
real
like,
nerd.
yeah, and I'm like, what are you gonna do, man? Like he just power bombed his boss the other week. Like
It was the
you
guy
know,
with the
he's-
glasses, wasn't it?
yeah,
Getting in
and-
Nash's face.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, dude, he just power bombed his boss like a couple of weeks ago. Like realistically, he's gonna dumpster you hard. Like
Man,
It
I need
was
to
just
find
very
out.
funny.
I need to find out if these cops are actors or if they're actually getting the cops to act in the show. Because
It looks that way, doesn't it? It looks like it's the
Yeah.
actual the force, you know.
yeah, because they all look different and they don't look like they're like local wrestlers being asked to portray, you know, and the way that their outfits, you know, they're not wearing like stupid little security shirts, like they're fucking police officers. So
yeah.
I'd love to know. I might have to do a Google on that as well. Probably after this though. But anyway, yeah. So this is that last segment. I made you guys watch the little bit beforehand because I loved. Gene was interviewing the Horseman, and he had lost kind of control of the whole segment, and he said, woman, I've lost control. And then she was doing what she does. She's always feeling him up, and she said, maybe you can lose control with me. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that surely made Gene like shiver a little bit, like, oh, that would be great. Well, she's really good at what she does. But anyway, back to the storyline here, back to the NWO. Again, I liked Bobby reiterating, not knowing why can't we know that third man? Like it's really a problem. And one other thing I wanted to throw out there before we get to the next part is at this stage they were thinking behind the scenes that Sting was going to be the third guy. Just from what I've heard from what Eric said in interviews and all that, would have been a big mistake, I think. But anyway, let's move on. WCW Saturday Night has now entered the nWBro's universe here. First time, July 6th here. So this is the Saturday night, the night before Bash at the Beach. We have a Luger, Sting, and Savage interview, boys.
Context. In the last 2 episodes of the nWBro's podcast, Lex Luger has made a real cunt of himself, tripping over his words and flubbing lines like a useless fucking twat. Will the nWBro's spot yet another antic from the total package? Or will Lex express himself properly this time? See what I did there? Go fuck yourself.
Kev, take it away.
I have to give it to Luger here. He was fluid. He said everything. There was no mess ups. He was on point. But I have a theory in this. I think because he was wearing the face paint, I think he's got a false sense of, bravado. I think the face paint helps or something. That's my only theory, because he used some big words here. He said audacity, precedence, cohesiveness, no problem whatsoever when he was talking. But WCW, huge problem. Pride, can't do it. But all these words, no problem.
I love that you wrote specifically down all of like the more intricate words. Excellent stuff. Blade, have you got anything to add here?
So it's funny because you and I were talking about this before Kev came in the call, and I was like, I have to point this out because I did find it funny. So verbally, his oration, his speech, great. Like he did a really good job, and that's awesome. But then partway through, he goes, I just need to change position. Why mention that? Just move. Like, it's so awkward. And then he like moves and it takes like just a couple of seconds. And I'm like, like that was gonna be like a 9 on the scorecard, and you brought it down to an 8 because you're a weird man, Lex. You're a very weird man.
Oh God.
Unbelievable. I was actually, whilst you were talking there, just trying to find the rating that this episode of Saturday Night got, but of course, Google is not really helping me out here.
I also want to throw in, I find it very funny. I feel like in this interview, these three men are like the spectrum of enthusiasm. You know, Sting is quite hyped, more than Macho Man, which I find very surprising. And then, man, I just realized I feel really bad. I keep bagging on Luger, and people are going to be like, this guy fucking hates Lex Luger. Yeah, I just like, but like every interview he does, he's always like, and they're like, Lex, somebody killed your family. And he's like, like, it just, he's not a expressive man either. It's wild. Sorry. I need to stop bagging on the guy.
It's okay. It's just someone early on here that has kind of like jumped out at us with a few things. And, you know, there's just like, you know, this interview here, like Luger won't stop touching himself. He's constantly just like touching himself. And
it's fun. It's in a weird way, though. Luger is one of the most entertaining people on the show, though. Like, I'm just finding him the most entertaining in a weird sort of way.
It's true. I've almost started to pay attention to like, what weird thing is he gonna do or say? Like, I'm now really invested in him. That's a great point. I love that.
yeah, he's not intended. He's just making us laugh. And that's what I like the most about wrestling. Like, I'm not even give a fuck about the matches. I sort of see Lucas do something stupid again. So yeah, Lex does all right with his promo. I wrote down, well done, Lex. Savage again, man. Savage, fucking savage. Hostile takeover? I don't think so. You know, like he's just the perfect wrestling character.
They're really hammering home that hostile takeover word. You notice in this last two shows, they just keep on saying that same thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're hammering it home. And the last note I had here was this is when wrestlers were wrestlers with the flexing and the grunting. It's just ridiculous. Like, what people are these? It's just ridiculous. Okay. We next segment here we've got oh, sorry, I think I made you guys sit through an advert break. I don't know how I left that in, but we'll skip that.
Yeah, there was they did a hostile takeover vignette here as well. I think. And I have no idea why Public Enemy were in it. It was really strange.
Were they talking about it?
Yeah. So they just popped up and they sort of were like, what have they got to do with this? It was bizarre. It was bizarre.
Oh my God, I don't know. But I love things like that. I love that there's so many things that just don't make sense, but it bothers you for a second, but then you forget about it. But we move on to the main event here, guys, of WCW Saturday Night. Dick Slater, Mike Enos, formerly known as the Mauler, and VK Wallstreet, formerly known as IRS. Colonel Robert Park at ringside, taking on Savage, Sting, and Luger. Kev, take it away.
Another future NWA member, which is one of the ones why?
Yeah, that one's a bit puzzling. Yeah,
this is a match. Just as you said, this is the tune-up match for the Bash at the Beach, and we know who's going over in this one. But it was just it's just something to hype the show. Not much to note here, I guess.
No, of course not. Blade, anything you picked up here?
No, I just thought they really promoted on commentary well how Sting, Luger, and Savage are like the protectors of WCW, you know? These three men are the last bastion between these outsiders and complete and utter takeover. So I thought that was done really well.
Very nice. The only things I really wrote down here were how many ex-WWF guys did they scoop up? Now that I see IRS walking out, I'm like, fuck. It's throughout the company. The only other thing that I found funny was that after the match, Colonel Robert Parker was really upset about them losing, and I'm like, what did you expect, dude? Like...
So what would happen if they won that match? Would they be the three going into the main event?
Yeah, like it's just, dude, there's no way.
One point I was going to make as well is the thing with this storyline of the Takeover and the NWO. I can't really think of another storyline, or maybe there's a few in WWF later on, but one that brings pretty much every person on the roster has a small part in it, and others more. Say the commentary team are part of this storyline. You know, it's one of those things that just sucks everyone in, so everyone's got something to do, and you don't often get that. You know, you usually get a storyline on the show, and then the rest of the show's got nothing to do with this world. Where this one's like the whole universe of WCW is this storyline, and that's it gives everyone something to do.
Yeah, it's starting to suck everyone into it because it's like the first of its kind. Don't fucking in the comments don't mention the Japanese angle. Shut up. It's the first of its kind, and it's so dramatic that it's sucking everyone into it. And I'm sure once things kind of die down a little bit as we move along, then everyone starts having their own issues elsewhere. But now we're at July 7th, guys. We're at Bash at the Beach 1996. Obviously, we're only looking at the main event here. The Outsiders, the hostile takeover match here against Savage, Luger, and Sting. And we'll find out who that third man is. We already know ahead of time who it was going to be. But Tony, Bobby, and Dusty on the call, all looking fantastic in their suits. Makes the occasion seem grand, I think. So we have a final video package with the ripoff of Crazy by Seal. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Did you notice that, Kev? No?
No.
Go back and listen to it. It's so obvious. The video package. I want to get your thoughts on this, guys. Like the video package that aired. Do you think it looked a little dated the way that it was put together?
That's exactly how I had my notes. I said it reminded me of like a late night talk show in the 90s, you know, like that. But not the good ones, not Conan or Jay Leno was one of those ones that was on the the BC grade sort of those talk shows. That's what it reminded me of.
That is a really good point. Okay, and I just love every little bit of this, and I've got so many notes that I wrote down, but I don't want to take too much of this up. But you guys just jump in whenever you want, okay? There's only two of them that come out that make their entrance, and everyone's fucked off. Commentators are pissed off. Here comes Gene. Gene's not happy. He's got a bad, foul look at his face. It's such an anticipated, situation, wondering who the third man is. They're making it real. It feels real. Gene doesn't have police protection and he wants to confront them and he still gets a pass. I don't know how to throw this back and forth to you guys because this is such a long kind of match, and I guess I'll just keep going bit by bit here. Sorry. Tony and the commentary team, so hopeful for violence. Tony's talking like a heel throughout this. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but Scott Hall, when he talked on the mic, it felt like the Razor Ramon voice was back.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay, so let's get into the early goings here of this match, guys. I'm gonna throw it to you, Blade. How are you feeling, early on into this matchup?
So the first thing that hit me was I can't remember who said it on commentary, but there seems to be a bit of a thread with WCW as making wild, political or social statements. But they're the anticipation of knowing who the third man is like the anticipation of knowing the outcome of the O.J. Simpson trial. It's not. Murder is not the same as trying to know who the third guy is. It's just, they're completely different scales. But, I understand the effort.
So over the top.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The Outsiders gear, and that gear is so famous, especially Scott's gear with the blood drip. It's absolutely
interesting. It's red. It's interesting. It was red. I thought.
Yeah. I think Hall and Nash play off Mean Gene so well, just in that they're kind of skirting around the fact and not really answering his questions. And I did say that, yeah, the accent is 100% back, which is just wild. Yeah, that's my sort of thoughts, I guess, on that really early proceeding.
Yep, Kev.
The crowd was one of the things I noticed the most. Like they had this kind of like very. It's not often you get that kind of. I don't know how you explain it. It was just very like this environment of just noise, but very kind of like what's happening, what's going to happen here. They're really into it, but it wasn't like a chanting, booing kind of like classic crowd. It had more of a environment of I don't know. It was a very different.
Would you liken it to like the World Cup final and it's a penalty shootout? No one's taken a shot yet.
Yeah, it's tense. It's a tense atmosphere. Put it that way. Yeah, I've definitely felt that.
Yeah,
anticipation. I think it's a rumble of anticipation. You still don't know what's going to happen, but you know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I feel a bit better now. I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to know how to run through this matchup here. So we're doing well, boys. It's been all this time. Seeing them actually wrestle is great. Like I actually felt like excited. Like you're seeing them actually interact with the guys, even though I've seen them match like 300 times. Someone alluded, I don't know if Bobby said I could be the third guy or something like that. And it's like, Bobby, we know you're not going to be the third guy. What are you going on about? Luger is taken out early here. I love this because it gets it down to being a tag match again. Luger taken out, but Blade was bloody loving it too.
Like I want him actively hurt and out of commission.
No.
That's the way that you seem to present it. It's like, oh, I actually have a vendetta against this guy.
Who's making a mountain out of a molehill. Kevin, what do you think of this moment here with Luger getting kind of, taken out? Do you think this is the right move?
Yeah, I think this match was sort of put together really well. The way it was all set up, I think it was Savage was getting beaten down for a while. Then he makes the hot tag to Sting. Just the whole thing, the way it got put together, I think was very, very well done.
They nailed it. Like it was a quick reset after Luger was kind of like taken to the back on the stretcher.
All of them are pros in the ring. They know what they're doing. That's why I was watching the match and going, you know what? This crowd is so into this, and these guys are just doing. Nash has got like 4 or 5 moves. He's just doing all these signature moves. Sting's got his punch. They're not doing much.
No,
they're not doing a hell of a lot. They're brawling or they're keeping them on the floor and building up for the hot tag, and they're not doing a hell of a lot. And it's that entertaining. You don't need. It's a lot start, what they were doing out there.
Now that you say it, it's like I feel my heart slightly breaking a little bit, realizing like. It didn't need fucking fancy schmancy shit. It didn't need people diving over the top rope to the outside to make it awesome. It's not about that. It's not about moves, man. It's not about moves. It's about like the tense situation that this is the story behind it. It's so much is on the line. We give a shit about a regular punch or a knee to the gut more than a tope suicida. Fuck off.
But more importantly too, as well, we care about all the people in the ring, and we care about we care about the commentators, we care about the announcers, everyone is important, and we feel something for them. That's the way it is, and that's also a lost thing where sometimes the guys on the roster now, I don't know anything about them. Like how can I care when I don't know anything about you? Whereas here, everyone's over.
Yeah, everyone.
I think it was It was really awesome, and it was like not something I expected to feel, but like when Hall and Luger are sort of getting started, and Hall's kind of just like provoking him a little bit, like at every opportunity before they get started, like he's just creeping forward and doing little things, and then as soon as they lock up, and Hall nails him with a couple of those right hands, and I reckon Hall's got one of my favorite punches in the game. Yeah. He's just got such a good right. To me, that was like man, I love, like, this is a better start than like any technical chain wrestling that they could have done, any flips, any luchador stuff. Like, it's a fight, and these people are assholes, and like these guys are trying to be good guys. Like, it's almost like it's a tested and true formula that they've executed so well. And it goes into when Luger's on the stretcher, you've got the outsiders go after him on the stretcher. It's such scummy, shitty heel
Yeah.
behavior. And it's great. They're just doing the elements of storytelling to get their point across. And it's not bells and whistles. They're not trying to like reinvent the wheel. They're just doing what is necessary really well.
Yeah. I don't want to keep harping on it, okay? Because I know that, look, each their own. There are people out there that like the fancy schmancy stuff, but like this match didn't need a Canadian destroyer, like it, and you know what I think is just so immature and juvenile that people like, man, like they didn't even do any moves. Like, what do you want? Well, you need like what you when you read a book, you only look at the pictures or something like that. Like you're so stupid and immature and juvenile that you need to see flips and fancy athletic things. Like, go on.
Man, you can do that stuff, but if the story is not in place and the characters who are doing the story are not in the place where you care it's important, it's good television, then it's not going to be any good. But you can do all that flippy stuff, but if you have to have both, you have to have the story and that, and it would be amazing. But you just don't. Yeah, you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
I think
Little Married with Children reference there. Here,
I think the way that I try and look at it is like it's like anything else I do. TV shows I watch or movies I watch. I love comedy, but I also love drama, and I love like silent films or foreign films or whatever it might be. Like wrestling genres are kind of like the same thing, right? If you just love flips and shit, that's great. It just means that like you're kind of missing out on all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And one is not like by virtue better than any of the others. They're just doing things in a different format. And if one resonates with you, cool. But if you're open and you're willing to let the others, you know, and you're willing to look at things from a different perspective and a different way of producing the art form, it just means there's a lot richer tapestry out there for you to enjoy.
Exactly. Well said. I was kind of like, remember back then there was always that post fireworks smog in the arena. But it really kind of added to the atmosphere. I love Sting getting a hot tag and he was laying a bit of a whooping on Hall and Dusty's yelling out, "Who'll be bad now, boys? Who'll be bad now?" Another very poignant moment of the match. Nash goes for a big elbow on Savage, who was, I think, supposed to move out the way. Did you see Savage like getting up and Nash completely like landing on Savage's head? Dude, I was like, he could have broken. This is 7 foot, 300 pound guy. He could have broken his neck from that. As it moves on, Tony is being more of a heel, and like for the first time, Tony's like understanding Bobby's point of view on kicking the man while he's down and eye gouging and low blowing and really cool stuff. Like it got to the point where babyface Tony Schiavone's even, now I get it. Anyway, nothing else I really wanted to bring up for the match here. Let's just get to the moment, boys. We've got a low blow from Nash on Sting, or no, Savage, I believe, sorry. All the men are down, and Hulk Hogan is here. Hulk Hogan is here. He's making his entrance to the ring. Bobby says, whose side is he on? Dusty's like, what are you talking about? And he gets in the ring, rips off his shirt. I'm stopping it there, boys. Okay. Blade, Kev, let me know what you're thinking at this point.
Ooh, I mean, to me, that walk down, and we've established that obviously I didn't watch this when it aired, but as a fan of wrestling and having seen numerous compilation clips and advertised over the years, I mean, is this walk down to the ring not one of the most famous, if not most famous, betrayal walks of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so this whole end segment, and I know we'll get into the rest of it, but like it's so iconic. It's got to sit up there, like, to me, and seeing it in full now. Yeah, brilliant.
Cool. I just wanted to do this bit by bit because I know that I'm going to make a lot of shorts out of this. Kev, how you think? You've seen this before, but how do you, when you're analyzing it, what have you got for me?
Well, this whole match and segment, luckily enough to watch it live when I was a kid. I only with this pay-per-view, I only seen that segment. I sort of put it on late, so I saw this live. And the last I know of Hogan was, all my years growing up in the 80s, watching him as a kid, and I seen him just baby face. So I wasn't really aware of what was going on in wrestling at the time. So when I put this on and seeing what was going on, I'm like, oh, that's Diesel and Razor Ramon. What are they here now? And then Hogan, and then what happened? I was shocked as a kid. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to tell my parents when they woke up, and I was probably like 9 or something. I couldn't wait to tell them, and their reaction was like, oh, okay. But for me, I was inside. I had no one to talk to. I had no one to tell, But because at this point in time, wrestling wasn't cool. It wasn't. No one was watching it. So this happening back then was shocking to me. So watching this again for maybe the 4th, 5th time, I still enjoyed the match. I still enjoyed the whole thing. It was such an enjoyable match, enjoyable like storyline. What can I say? It's still impactful for me now watching it to this day.
It's so funny. You just wanted someone to talk to about it, someone to care, and your parents. The only people they.
Oh, that's neat. That's nice, dear.
Like, it's probably as soon as you said like the words Hulk or whatever, they already switched off, just waiting for you to stop talking. Anyway, Hogan gets in the ring. Hogan's getting in the ring. He's ripped off the shirt. He's looking at the Outsiders, who are just standing there staring at him. And you got to remember, behind the scenes, like, Bischoff was very worried that Hulk wasn't going to do it in the end, that he's going to change his mind at the last second. So I wonder what Nash and Hall are thinking here. But Tony's talking, Hulk Hogan's here, blah, blah, blah. And then there's that Hulk, as he goes off the ropes and hits the big fucking leg on Savage. Everyone is stunned. Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. He's the third man. Randy Anderson gets thrown out of the ring. Hogan hits 3 leg drops on Savage. Hall counts 3. Trash is being thrown in the ring. Okay, throwing it to you, Blade, here now. Once again, your thoughts on the heel turn. Your thoughts in the moment.
So we talk about me being the most well-spoken member of the podcast and bringing the intellectualism. I don't know if I agree with that, but sure. But I'm going to make some statements that people might consider a little bit verbose, but you can get fucked. I said the crowd reaction to the leg drop is one of the hallmarks of professional wrestling, period.
Yeah.
Hogan has gone from being the hero of the 80s to the villain of the 90s. And the fact that he did that in 2 separate decades, I mean, that's huge. Like, what a thing to accomplish as a guy who's like, when you consider like white meat baby face, all American, like, he was the proto, like, he's the prototype, he's the finished product, like, he was it. And then to completely flip that, like, that's such a huge thing in the landscape of professional wrestling. Whether the rubbish being thrown was planned or not, I don't give a shit. It makes really good TV.
Yeah.
The visuals of it are amazing. So what if they planted it? They pipe in noise now, apparently. So like the visuals are what's really important. And I think like that, having that footage is huge.
So
yeah,
good, bro.
I don't want to go much further because I know we're sort of doing bit by bit. So
that's fine.
We haven't covered the Mean Gene part of it when he comes in, so I'll leave my other thoughts.
Kev, you've already kind of talked about, having seen it when you were younger, how you felt when you saw the heel turn. Trash is being thrown in the ring here. It felt like a real big moment here. Like I don't think I think it was a real reaction. The trash. I
Yeah.
think it was real. People looked disgusted. There was that one guy with the ECW shirt on in the front row that seemed really happy with the whole thing.
You got to
Okay.
remember. You got to remember as well. Back in this era, right? Thing you're still getting grannies in the front row, like
Yeah.
trying to hit Hulk Hogan and stuff like that. So you've still got this portion of the audience that still cheers the good guys.
Yeah.
And boos the bad guys. But then I think there's also a portion of the audience now are starting to really like this cool heels like the
Yeah.
NWO. So it's everything's changing when you're watching this.
Yep. I think this is like the moment where, like, even though they've been doing some really cool stuff prior to this, I think this was like the moment that kind of changed everything. But then again, I have rose tinted glasses because it's my favorite thing ever. My favorite, okay, like all of this is great. All this is great, but I think my favorite moment of the whole thing is here comes Gene. Excuse me. What in the world are you thinking? This guy's just assaulted all these people, and Gene has the fucking balls to point at him and say, "What in the world are you thinking?" Gene gets hit with trash. He's so honest and gets away with it, you know. Hogan starts talking. You could call this the New World Order of Wrestling, brother. Gene points to the ground. Look at all of this crap in this ring. This is what's in store for you if you want to hang out with the likes of this man Hall and this man Nash. And Nash and Hall don't sell it. Like, it doesn't upset them at all. But I think this is the best promo of Hogan's career. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to throw it to you, Kev.
Yeah, I think there's a hint of truth in what Hogan's saying here. You know, he mentions doing all the probably the Make-A-Wish stuff. He's doing movies, he's doing this and that, and then he's at this point in time he's getting booed badly. And I guess probably a portion of him inside is thinking, how dare you, like, ungrateful, I give you this many years. And so I think there's a bit of truth here when he's promo, and I think that's what makes it. It's real life, and he's taken that in.
It's too good, man. It's too good. Blade, anything to follow up here with?
Yeah, I mean, so firstly, I think it's great, and I think I've learned over the last couple of podcast episodes that we've done that if we talk about the concept of being like either an NPC or the main character in life, Mean Gene is the player character in everybody's life. He's the main character. The fact that you can get away with just being like, "Hey, man, excuse me," like. Everything he does is wild. It doesn't make sense. He's almost like Homer Simpson in The Simpsons in that sense, right? Like, how are you still alive? How are you not getting like lampooned for this? It's wild. I love Gene. Hogan's promo is awesome. It's so good. It's probably like one of the best I've ever seen him do. I have one issue to bring up, and that really, really bugged the crap out of me because the first time he said it, he did it right, and then he got it wrong a couple of times.
I already know what you're going to say. Keep going.
And it just ruined it just a little bit. The New World Organization. Dude, like, what is with you people? I'm not being able to get the organization's names right. Holy shit.
Do you think perhaps at this point they didn't actually know what it was supposed to be yet?
Perhaps, but it feels like with all the foreshadowing of like using the term New World Order, like that was sort of what they were leaning towards. I mean, and I'm willing to it. Like, I'm open if we hear from Dave Meltzer. Well, actually, like, you know, they weren't going to call it a New World Organization. Fine, I'm willing to admit my fault. But if they were going for New World Order, I'm like, dude, just like write a note on your hand, like have it, you know, do something like. And it just made what was a really, really big moment for me just that little bit. Yeah.
You need every detail to be, you know, I get it, bro. I understand.
What would happen if it was Luger cutting that promo in the ring?
Oh, I would have quit the podcast. I would have made so much fun of him that I would have been cancelled on the internet. I would quit the podcast.
What would have he said? This is the New World Company of Wrestling.
the new Pied Order.
That's terrible. That is terrible. Oh my god. Okay, and one other thing I wanted to say before we kind of put a bow on this. You know, one of the best lines I think Hogan said here was, "You fans can stick it, brother." And I think that was kind of like the fucking knife going into the heart, you know, as he's explained all of this, you know, and why he's done this.
Said all the trash in the ring represents all the fans out there. That was a good line.
Yeah.
I think we also need to just touch on the emotion as we're zooming out, we're fading to black. All you hear is Tony Schiavone go, "Hulk Hogan, you could go to hell."
And then we're out of here, straight to hell.
Yeah.
Like he's still muttering, like even though he's in the middle of taking his headset off.
So good.
I really think they should have cut the feed at that point. Like, I think whoever's in charge of the cable company or whatever should have been so disgusted what they see. Like, no credits, no pictures of like Hogan after the heel turn. Everyone should be disgusted. Production team should be turning everything off and leaving. Like, why highlight the most disgusting thing that's ever happened?
Yeah,
but that's just me.
No, there's another little bit which I forgot about. Was I forgot really what happened to Sting. At the end, because when I was watching it back, I was like, where the hell does Sting go in all this? And there was a little bit where was it Randy Anderson, the referee?
Yeah.
There was a little tidbit where you seen, well, after Macho was getting beaten, Sting grabs him out of the ring to save him. He pulls him out, and then him, Macho and Randy Anderson, all three of them are leaving all together. Sort of like, they've just been all beaten through a wall. You know, like they're almost like they've got their soldiers, and they've got their two compadres are on the floor, been shot, and they're all going away together. That's what it looked like to me.
That's really. I'm glad you said that, because that's like a really important detail, and something that maybe a lot of people might not notice at first, but if you're really analyzing it, it is kind of like that. But okay, so we're off the air. We've finished here with what's happened here at Bash at the Beach. Do you two have anything else to add before we get to our next segment? I'm going to start with Blade.
No, I mean, I love that this is the culmination of this beginning point, and I'm actually like super excited to see what comes after this. Because this part is probably the most well-known part to me of everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to see what comes next is, I'm probably the most excited for that, to uncover like what happens next.
Yeah. So much good stuff has happened. Kev, anything else to add?
Yeah, there's another thing I think we missed was in Hogan's promo, he mentions the WWF and how he made them and made them so much money, made everyone their money. So back to referring to WWF again in that little bit, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's the next Nitro after this, but yeah, I remember it getting really good after this, so I'm looking forward to watching the next sort of section of this.
Yep, and everyone, that'll be in part 2 of July. So we're doing part 1 here, which was just going up to Bash at the Beach. And then the next episode we'll be actually doing a review of Bash at the Beach. But then after that, we're going to dig into the second half of July, and there's a lot to get through because there's like 4 Nitros to get through. So, but yes, that's exactly what's happening in the future for those playing at home. So cool, guys. Okay. Now I'm excited. I have been so excited to tell you what Dave Meltzer had to say.
That's right, it's time to find out what did Dave Meltzer say.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'd have to give that 5 stars.
Rumor has it that Mabel is going to be the third guy.
I couldn't believe it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, guys. Are you ready? Everyone at home, you better be ready. So this is the July 1st and 8th editions of The Observer. I might be mashing some of it all together, but this is what he had to say in The Observer the week of Bash at the Beach. Ultimate Warrior's future with the WWF is in question after he missed several weekend house shows after the death of his father. In an online interview last week, Warrior said he missed the shows because his father died, didn't understand why they buried him like that at the house shows. Obviously, this has fueled rumors of Warrior being the third man on the Hall Nash team at the upcoming pay-per-view. But word is Eric Bischoff has already decided who it will be, and it's not going to be Warrior. And even if WWF is going to fire him, they wouldn't do it until after the pay-per-view. So it's pretty much a legal impossibility that Warrior will be the third man. What are you going on about? Oh my God. Kev, Blade. I'll start with you, Kev. Anything to say there?
Maybe it was a tough week of news for him to try to come up with something. So I think he's just created something there to create a story.
About anyone thought that Warrior was going to be the third man. Get the fuck out of here. Blade, anything to add?
I mean, I'm going to refer back to my previous rant about Meltzer is that, okay, sure, he has a journalism degree. He wrote for a couple of publications that have some reputation. But when he branched out into his own and started covering wrestling, just because you make up some stuff and then put it on paper doesn't make it fact. It's just a bunch of bullshit. Like I could do the same. We could all do the same. Cool.
What bugs me the most here is like, okay, he hasn't even been fired yet. And he's kind of like hinting that maybe it might put. I think I'll know what's happening. He doesn't know who the third man is, so he's reaching. He's trying to throw out any single possible idea of who it could be, just so he could be like, "See, I was right in the end." Anyway, okay, I'll keep going. I'm sorry. It's just that all just smelled of horse shit. The third man of the Hall Nash team won't be revealed until the pay-per-view. Speculation is running rampant. And again, this is a recap of Dave's Observer by that guy. I can't remember his name now on Reddit. Dave suspected it'll be Hulk Hogan. Dave said a source on the set of a movie Hogan is doing. It sounds like bullshit. He has a source on the set of one of Hogan's movies. Come on. He overheard Hogan discussing it with Roddy Piper, saying that Bischoff had asked him to be the third man and that he was probably going to do it, but hadn't made a final decision yet. Dave thinks it might be the best thing for revitalizing Hogan's career, but it's also a big risk because it's possible that Hulk Hogan as a heel won't have the same pay-per-view drawing power. And since Hogan gets a 25% cut of pay-per-view revenue, it might not be worth it if it cuts into his drawing power. Plus, there's likely to be a significant drop in Hogan merch sales. I'll just keep going, guys. I'll keep going. WCW is huge momentum in the Monday Night Wars right now. Part of it is due to the 2-hour format, which gives them an hour jump start on Raw. But the other part has to be credited to the angle with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Speaking of, they're supposed to be heels, but they get huge cheers every week because they come out to the ring and are usually surrounded by cops with guns in half the WCW locker room. But they never back down, so it ends up making them look badass and cool. Okay, I'll read this paragraph and then we'll get your thoughts, guys. The identity of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash's third man is being kept super secret. The original plan was Lex Luger.
No.
It was never the plan, come on. But that probably isn't happening now, you think. Hall, Nash, and Bischoff have been discussing names, and currently the top candidate is Mabel. Get the fuck out of here.
Mabel, come on.
Nothing against Mabel, but come on. The top candidate. You got to be kidding me. And they also floated the idea that Crush, but decided against him. No, it was never going to be Crush. Brian Adams? No.
He comes a lot later.
Yeah. They'd really like it to be Bret Hart, but he's previously turned down all of WCW's offers and is still under contract with WWF, so it won't be him. How do you know that they really like it to be Bret Hart? Bischoff reportedly has a plan and is keeping it so secret that even Hall and Nash don't know yet. Bischoff has told them to trust him on this, but unless he miraculously pulls Bret Hart out of a hat, most people think it will be a letdown. Yeah, if it was Mabel, maybe it would be a letdown. I'm throwing it to you, Blade. Come on.
God, I'm so glad that he was proved wrong here. Like, if it's anybody else, it'll be a letdown. Dude, like, it's just a series of frustrations of like where, who, part of journalism is that you actually like cite your sources.
Yeah.
Someone he knows on the set
Get
of a
fucked.
movie that Hogan is on.
Who does he know? Works on a film set.
Yeah,
Is he talking to the key grip?
the best boy, my favorite film job. Yeah, I don't like. It's wild that people have put stock in what this man has said for the last 30 years, 40 years. Jesus Christ,
It just reads so bullshitty, It's
Yeah.
There's a lot of maybe going on here. There's a lot of probably, or just Kev, please.
I see what he's doing here. What he's doing is sort of like he's betting on a horse race, but he's putting a bet on like nearly every horse. And then one comes in, right? He's got, I told you, I said it was going to be him. That's what he's doing. Oh, I think it's going to be this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
Yeah.
And to Matt Singh.
He hasn't responded to any of the other burns. We're still calling him out in episode
I'm still Matt Singh 1 on YouTube, at Matt Singh 1. You left your little comment about Meltzer predicted it 2 weeks, correctly predicted 2 weeks out that Hogan. Well, this is the week off, bro. And he's name dropped Luger, Mabel, Crush, Ultimate Warrior. You dolt, okay? You've been proven wrong. How dare you push your bullshit and lie on purpose just to try and make us look bad? How dare you? Oh my God, bro. I was so happy when I read all this because I'm like, it's the week of. It's not even 2 weeks away. And Meltzer doesn't correctly say anything. And if he said it later on, Matt Singh, oh, well, the whole time, I might not have wrote it down in the Observer, but I was always thinking, it's got to be Hogan. It doesn't count. It can't count after the fact because he could have written it here. All right.
Oh, you're getting scarily better at that Meltzer voice every week. I looked away for a couple of seconds and not at the screen and actually thought Meltzer popped in then.
Meltzer doesn't run in.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few more things that I wanted to throw out there that Meltzer said in the Observer, which aren't related to the heel turn here. This week's Nitro easily beat Raw in the ratings, which is a big deal because it came the day after a major WWF pay-per-view, and ratings are usually higher on those nights. But WCW just wiped the floor with them this week. I think that might have been the episode that jumped up a nearly whole ratings point to a 3.5 from a 2.6 or something. And then he wrote this, which I thought was kind of poignant. Wanted you guys to hear this because it really tells us what kind of trouble we're in on the WWF side. This was the week of bad debuts. Salvatore Sincere, TL Hopper, The Goon, The Pug, and Jim Neidhart under a mask named Who, all debuted at the same tapings. And he's who is being told that he's the crowd being told that he's billed from who knows where.
Who was Jim Neidhart?
Yeah, so they can do the Abbott and Costello, who's on first.
Who's on first? Yeah.
Who's booking at this point for WWF? Is it Cornette?
I think it's Bruce and Cornette. Bruce Pritchard and Cornette.
Oof.
Stinks. And then the last little tidbit, which I think is so funny. WWF Magazine had a piece this month burying Kevin Nash for leaving for money and basically calling him greedy. Fuck off. That's so petty. Half the dates and more money are, and his son actually was born that week. So there we have it. That's everything I have. That was said by Dave Meltzer the week of Bash at the Beach 96. Very good stuff. Guys, tell me, Anything else that you want to add here before we sail off into the sunset? Kev?
Just prime example how to do an angle, right? It's always building. It always keeps us entertained and excited for the next show. Or just watch this shit and replicate what this is doing. It's simple stuff. It's not hard.
Please.
All the stuff Nash is doing, Hogan, all of them. It's all easy stuff. There's not much bells and whistles. It's very basic stuff, and it works. It'll
Very
work
good.
in 2025 too. 24, 25, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, man, you just have a look at this and
Just watch it. Just watch the good shit. Just watch it and be like, oh, like, let's take this from there and this from there and this from there. It's not that hard. Blade, anything to add?
I fucking hate Dave Meltzer.
For the
That's
love
it.
of God. So
Just-
painful.
Someone fire that man out of a cannon into the sun.
Kev, let everyone know out there where they can find you.
on X, it's Hail Mary Kev. On Facebook, it's Kevin Curran Music. You can find me on there. And my band's Hail Mary. You can find us everywhere at Hail Mary Band, except for Facebook, which is Hail Mary Band page. And that's about it.
Lovely. And of course, Blade, you don't have the social media, but usually at this point you say something about, I don't know, you give a little bit of a plug, don't you? Give it a whirl, mate.
Yeah, I thought we had another really great episode last week. And it's, as always, a real pleasure to do with this with you guys. And I think, we're only going from strength to strength currently. Please continue to follow us, and whether it's a like or a comment or
we really want
whatever
some
it might be.
comments. We like the comments.
Comments are great. And all of us are pretty happy to jump in there and actually have a conversation. Like, just because you comment on our videos, we're not too good to actually get in there and respond.
Yeah, like all three of us would probably get in there. We'd be so excited to talk to someone. Like Jeremy, I think his name is Jeremy. He's followed my old podcast. He left a comment on the last video saying that, he thought maybe Hogan should have wrestled the full match instead of coming out at the end. And we had a little bit of a back and forth there. But, I disagreed with his idea, but we still had a nice little conversation about it. It's always going to be nice. And we appreciate anyone's comments. So anyway, thank you, Blade. Thank you, Kev, for your time again here tonight. The nWBro's and everyone out there. Thank you for checking out the nWBro's podcast here, episode 4, Hostile Takeover, July, part 1, 1996. Guess what? We will see you down the road. Thank you.